Hi, Karen Curry Parker here with your weekly Human Design Evolution Report. I want to talk to you this week about two different significant things that are going on right now. First, I want to talk about the nodes. The nodes just shifted last week, and when our nodes move, it changes the overarching evolutionary theme that we are playing with. The nodes set the tone for our goals that we are seeking to work towards in our evolutionary path. We have been in a cycle since the middle of the summer that's been about finding revolutionary answers, finding revolutionary truths, and even starting revolutions based on the truths that we've discovered. We now move into a new theme. That new theme is embodied by the gate 7, the hexagram of the gate 7, and embodied by the gate 13. These are two energies that reside in the G center, or in the direction giving energy in the human design chart, which means part of what we're looking at in this cycle is where is our life direction taking us, and how can we take leadership in redefining the stories that we tell ourselves about what we perceive as happening, who we perceive ourselves to be, and even what stories have created our identity up until this point, and what stories maybe do we want to be changing if we want to go in a different direction and take a different place of leadership and support in our life path. So we're crafting new stories. We're redefining who we perceive ourselves to be. We're even shifting direction in our life path to make sure that our actions and everything that's unfolding is in alignment with this new story we're creating. But it's a tricky story for us to craft right now because we're in a really deep cycle that is got the capacity to reveal a lot of truth to us. We have Jupiter in a Scorpio position, so we have lots and lots of truth-telling and deep diving that we're doing. And starting on Wednesday of this week, Neptune now moves into a direct position. And here's why this is important. Neptune, in its natural state, can oftentimes be an energy of confusion and denial. When it is in a retrograde position, it's also retrospective. When it's in a retrograde position, we are actually able to access deeper truths. That denial kind of parts, that mist that keeps us from seeing the truth, kind of reveals itself. It moves aside so we can see the deeper truths. It's a nice combination of energies here. But, and here's the but, once we get that forward momentum going again in the Neptune position, it actually creates a deeper possibility for us to be looking at and participating and playing with the energy of denial. Now, Neptune is currently in the 63rd hexagram. So we are looking at the energy of doubt and suspicion in Neptune. That's just a mess, and it's a huge potential for mess, and it's a huge potential for us to get really confused about what's true, what's not, what's real, and what's not. Here's the cool part about this, though. Let's go back and let's talk about what is denial. Denial, of course, can be this really unhealthy thing where you're not willing to look at the truth and you don't want to deal, and you're buying into everybody else's story and maybe buying into your old stories that you've been telling yourself, where perhaps maybe you've been holding yourself back and limiting yourself from really being connected to what's true and real and authentic for you. So number one thing I want you to continue to work on, and we talked about this a lot last week, is what's your story? Who are you? Who are you really? If you're the you who's creating your reality, who is the you who's doing that creating, and do you like what you're creating? Do you like that story? If you don't like that story, it's a great time for you to write a new story, and here's why. Denial can be dysfunctional, but denial can also be incredibly powerful. Denial says, I'm looking at my reality. I'm looking at the story that I'm living, and I refuse to buy into the fact or the option or the possibility or the story that this life that I'm living right now is the one I'm stuck in. If I'm in pain, I don't have to accept that pain. I can deny it. I'm not saying resist it, because that's a whole different thing, but I certainly don't have to accept it as part of my story forever. I can change that story. I can deny the existence of that pain in my life. If I don't like my finances, I can change my finances. I can deny that the state of my finances is permanent. It's not part of my story anymore. I can change that story. You can use the energy of denial. And then this is in the 63rd hexagram, you guys. The 63rd hexagram is a head gate. It's a gate of the pineal gland. It's a gate where we plug into super consciousness, and it's a gate that opens us ultimately not just to doubt and suspicion in the low expression, but to possibility. We are moving into a position where we can engage in possibility thinking, in daydreaming, in expanding what we think is possible, in allowing ourselves to push off the edges of the old stories, to push off the shackles of the old stories, to deny that the limitations of the past are going to hold us back from fully stepping into the truth of who we could potentially be, the truth of who our heart and soul and the essence, the heart of who we are, longs for us to be. And when we can deny all those limitations of the past, when we can deny the parts of the story that don't line up with the authentic truth of who we are, then we can move into a new story about our perceptions of ourselves. We can take a new position of leadership in our own life and in telling our own life stories so that the heart of who we are can be expressed in a deeper, more delicious, more joyful, more abundant way. It's that piece, doing that work right now, looking at what do you need to deny in your life. That's the power of Neptune. And that's the power of Neptune in the 63rd gate position. It's also important to note that when this energy is at play on the planet, it is easy to get seduced into believing things that are not true. It's easy to get confused about what is true and what's not. So drop into the heart of who you are. Stay in the heart of who you are, because it's being in the heart of who you are that will help you know what's true and real and not. So that you don't get confused by outer circumstances that cause you to stray away from all the goodness of who you are, all the magnificence of who you are. So that's your homework for this week. Look at what's going on in your life that you need to deny. I'm not doing that anymore. That's that energy of denial. And to find ways to reconnect back to the heart of who you are. What do you need to release, heal, be aligned with? What needs to be brought to your awareness for you to craft a story about who you are that's truly worthy of who you truly are? Have a wonderful week. For those of you who are celebrating Thanksgiving, I'm grateful for you and all of your leadership and all of the contribution that you make to the story of humanity. Thank you all for listening. I hope you get to spend beautiful, delicious, luscious time with your family. Safe travels, safe journeys, and I'll talk to you all next week.